And I say to the Daily Mail, who will no doubt have someone here today, you have some responsibility in this. You, the media, have some responsibility in this situation. Of course, they're going to cover this so-called jihadi John, this killer, this murderous killer. But he's no more representative of British Muslims than Anders Breivik was of Norwegian Christians when he murdered 65 children in Norway a couple of years ago. Nobody asked the Christians in the world to apologize for Breivik. Why would they? But why are Britain's Muslims, 2.7 million of them, being somehow held responsible for the actions of extremists here and elsewhere? A point to which I shall return. I see a Palestinian flag coming in, and it's very, very welcome, along with the Kashmiri flag, which is equally welcome. That was another funny thing about the Daily Mail coverage that I've just read. It featured pictures of the fascists, the ugliest looking bunch of people you ever saw in your whole life, with tattoos on their tongues. I'm not making that up. Tattoos on their fingers, on their faces. I'm not making that up. Giving Nazi salutes in England, in Newcastle. The country, our country, which stood against Hitler, has people holding British flags giving Nazi salutes. But there was one foreign flag visible for all to see, held aloft by these would-be Nazis, and that was the flag of Israel. Hasn't it come to something that the flag of Israel is carried in Britain by fascists? We make absolutely no apology as a Respect Party for our stand in support of the Palestinian people. We make absolutely no apology to anyone for our support for the right of self-determination for the people of occupied Kashmir. That's where we stand. We disdain to hide our views. But that doesn't mean we're against Jews, and it doesn't mean we're against Indians. Far from it. Many Indians and many Jews are in our movement for justice for the Palestinian people and freedom for the people of Jammu and Kashmir. That's just by way of an introduction. I welcome you on this, as I say, inclement evening to the election launch, as we're in the Toller ward, principally of Sharaz Hussain, the Respect candidate for the Toller ward in the council elections on the 7th of May. We're now the second worst in Britain. We've sunk down the schools league, and the councillor responsible for our schools is still in his job. At least Harry Redknapp resigned when he reached second bottom of the premiership. But it never seems to occur to the council leadership in this city that they are responsible. With power comes responsibility, but they refuse to take any. Some things, of course, have improved in that just less than 3 years. When I arrived in Bradford, just 3 years ago, there was a giant hole in the centre of the city where Westfield was supposed to be. It had lain an empty hole for the best part of 10 years. Bradford City Council tore down a part of its own heart and left it as a hole gathering rainwater, because none of them had the sense to force Westfield to sign a contract that once they had done so, Westfield had to build. It was a gentleman's agreement, except they weren't playing with gentlemen. And so our city became a byword for municipal incompetence. When I arrived here just 3 years ago, the Odeon, one of the twin icons in the city centre, was shrink-wrapped, crumbling and falling down. And the council wanted it to fall down to save them the cost of knocking it down, which would have left a second hole in the centre of Bradford to match the one we already had. And just after I arrived, the government came forward with a proposal to close the National Media Museum, our only national institution. What's the situation now? Westfield is rising like a phoenix from the ashes, and God willing, in a couple of months, will be open, bringing jobs, bringing footfall, bringing customers, bringing to life again the city centre in Bradford. The Odeon's no longer shrink-wrapped. It's no longer falling down. It's been saved. We got the money. It's been kick-started. And soon, it too will be again a building to be proud of. The National Media Museum was saved from closure by a campaign which even my worst enemy would concede was led by us. Indeed, the minister, the Conservative minister, Ed Vasey, from the dispatch box, said that we had ably led, the campaign to save the National Media Museum. When I arrived here, Bradford City Football Club were about to be relegated from the Football League. Since when, we've been to Wembley twice, and we're on our way to Wembley again, God willing, in this latest cup run. Now, I never kicked a ball. I didn't score any of their goals. The players and their manager and the owners are responsible for that. But it definitely represents a change in mood, a change in atmosphere since the Bradford spring. And if we all get elected on the 7th of May, I'm pretty sure we're going to win the cup. I'm pretty sure. We're standing here on our record. My two friends as community activists of outstanding quality, with a mass following in their wards. And me, on the record not just of the last 3 years, not even the last 30 years, the last 40 years and more of political activism. When I speak in Parliament, people come in rather than go out, which is the case, I can assure you, for most speeches in Parliament. When I speak in Parliament, millions of people watch the speech on YouTube afterwards. I promise you that doesn't happen to many members of Parliament. There's millions of people listening on YouTube to the recordings of my Talk Sport radio show 10 years ago. Check it out and see. I have been standing for things that are important, indeed precious, to the people in this constituency long before I was looking for your votes. Nobody can say, I support Kashmir because I'm looking for your votes. Because I supported Kashmir before I'd ever set foot in Bradford, and when virtually nobody else did. Nobody can say I oppose Israel's crimes against the Palestinian people, because I've been doing that this summer for exactly 40 years. 40 years. Nobody can say I opposed the Iraq war because I was looking for your votes. I was a leader of the movement against the war in Iraq before any prospect of any kind of being the Member of Parliament here in Bradford was visible or discernible. Now, there are many reasons why I want to be returned for one more term as the MP for Bradford West. Many reasons. Local, national and international. I'd go through them all, except I've soon to appear live on Sky News at the back of the hall, and I want my friends to have a chance to say something while the camera and I are still here. I want to get us up that league of the school's tables. I want to fill the potholes in that nearly wrecked my car coming here. I want Bradford Royal Infirmary to be something to be proud of, rather than something where we're just one step ahead of the inquiry teams looking into this or that failing. I want to see the Odeon open. I want to see Westfield buzzing. I want to see the National Media Museum overhauled, reinvested, and drawing people from all over, not just the county, but the country. I want to see us build on the Tour de France, which toured Bradford but didn't come into the city even though we paid for it. Why don't we have an annual tour of Yorkshire? The centre of Bradford is perfect cycling country. There are many, many domestic planks to our platform, which will roll out over the next 75 days. I want to be in a parliament that will probably be a hung parliament. Because when it's a hung parliament, the individual MP has got quite a lot of power, you know. Because Ed Miliband will have to come and see me every night and ask if I'll support them. And if I don't, it won't go through.
Never.
And if he does, I'll say yes, but there's a price. If you want my vote, you better do something about Bradford schools. If you want my vote, you better do something about the mass unemployment in the city. 50% of our young people out of work. I'll have many demands in that hung parliament, and they'll all be for you. But I only have time to concentrate on one more thing. To give another warm welcome to the man I'm sure is going to be the councillor in Toller in just 75 days or so from now. Shiraz Hussain, our respect candidate for Toller.
Friends, I'm not a big politician, I can't do many speeches. I thought I'd keep it sweet and short. I've lived in Toller Ward all my life. I'm a local businessman. I want to better my community, better Toller Ward. And for many years, Labour Party's been in power, nothing's changed here. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
The part of the parliamentarian here tonight. Thanks very much, Shiraz. A man I've known longer, who's been with me from the first day, who's one of my closest comrades, who is a rock of loyalty and service, not just to me, but to the community that he hopes to represent. I give you our Manningham candidate, Mohammed Salis.
I've been an activist for the best part of my 22, 23 years of life. I'm 45 years of age. I've been through the run of the mill with other Labour Party of the past, and no change have I seen in them. And that is quite evident in the recent events, even more so.
I'd like to say a few things about George Galloway. I'm here not because he's my brother, not because he himself is George Galloway, for what he does for the humanity, for the people throughout the globe. Not for the Muslims only, for justice, for people, for humanity. And this is why I'm here tonight, all the way from London. So he speaks for justice. He wants to see a world where we all can live together as a human being. And for that, we need voices like George Galloway. And this is why we need to re-elect him, put him back into the parliament again.